6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Sacred Division. And now, here is your host, Bishop James Long.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Sacred Division. And we are right back in the saddle again on this fantastic February the 4th, the big Tuesday after the Iowa caucuses. I don't know about you. What in the world is going on with Iowa? I mean, really, I've got to say that is okay. I know. I'm not trying to make anybody mad or anything, but my goodness, how? Okay, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to. They knew that this was going to happen, right? They knew that there was a big vote, and they had more than enough time to prepare for this vote. I don't understand why there was such a unbelievable. Just, do you know that they still don't have the results? How is that possible? I mean, really, how is that possible? And we're not talking about the whole state of Iowa, by the way. We're not talking about all the residents. This is just for the Democrats. You see, you got to understand, the caucuses are, the Iowa was just voting for the Democrat nomination, right? Well, at least for Iowa. Okay, so we're just talking about the Democrats here. We're not talking about Democrats and Republicans. We're just talking about the Democratic Party. And so only Democrats came out to vote because it's obviously for the Democratic race. I don't, how is it, if you know that there's going to be a big vote, if you know that it's coming, why such a massive, just unbelievable mess? I mean, just a mess. I tell you what, the people in charge of whatever, I don't know all the logistics of it, but whoever's in charge of it should be fired. I'm sorry, I would fire them immediately. If I was the chair for the Democratic Party, the national chair, I would say, look, you know, I would go to Iowa and say, this person's got to go. I mean, they're just, because it looks so silly. It looks unbelievable. If you're a Democrat out there, and if you're listening to this, I'm not the only one. I am not the only one saying this looks just ridiculous. It looks, even Trump recently said that it's a complete mess. And it is. He's right. I mean, he's right. It is a complete mess. So, I don't know. Anyway, I just had to open up with that. And boy, what a crazy thing. But welcome to the Sacred Division, everybody. My name is Bishop Long, and I really appreciate you being here and chatting with me for this hour. We're here Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, Monday through Thursday, we're going to be covering world events, movie reviews, TV reviews, entertainment news. It's not always going to be politics, okay? So there you go. But Friday is a bit different. Friday is devoted 100% to the paranormal. That's it. It is Paranormal Fridays. Every Friday we're doing a paranormal show on the Sacred Division. So Monday through Thursday, we get all of our frustrations out on the world news and what's going on, and we talk about it, and we share thoughts, and then, of course, on Fridays, we just have a good time, and hopefully we have a good time Monday through Thursday, too, but on Fridays, we have paranormal stuff, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things paranormal. I've always loved the paranormal, ever since I was a kid. And certainly now as an exorcist, and as someone who has been in the paranormal field for quite some time, legitimately, again, I said yesterday, it's so, I don't know, it's somewhat insulting, I think is a good word, when you have people running around saying that they've been in the paranormal field for 30 years and they're 33 years old. You see, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Or, I've been in the paranormal for 30 years and I'm 37, or I'm 40 years old. So that means you started in the paranormal field when you were 10. You see, it gets to a point where they use that to try to establish credibility. That's the whole reason for doing it. But what they don't realize is it actually hurts their credibility. Because then people can do math. They can, they're able to add and subtract. So it's just, I would strongly encourage, if you've been in the paranormal field for 5 years, that's great. Say it. I'm 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 20, 30, whatever it is. But you don't want to add on years just to try to establish some credibility, because actually it hurts you in the long run. It's not beneficial at all. So that's the only thing that I would say. And we're going to talk a lot about the paranormal. And this Friday, I am going to talk about demonology and possession. What's interesting, and this isn't, because I've done the Sacred Division since 2003. I was one of the very first ones when online radio started, because it was that was really in its infancy days. And so I did the Sacred Division then. But it's interesting because when I do my shows, I don't really do a whole lot of lecturing or talking about demonology and possession. I will do that as a guest on other people's shows, but then I thought, well, why are you doing that? You should do it on your own show too. So this Friday, I'm going to talk about demonology and a few things that I have seen and witnessed in my experiences, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you will enjoy the show, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you guys and to really just talk about as much as I can about what I've experienced. But let's jump into the show for today, because there's a lot to talk about, guys. And of course, again, the Iowa situation. What on earth? I mean, what on earth? I don't understand that. And by the way, one of the things that I want to do, and if you hear this show later on podcast, do me a favor, send me a private message on Facebook. And I really want to make eventually a live video feed. And I can do that on Facebook. And I can also do that on YouTube as well. But I've been thinking about doing a live, but the only problem is I don't know how to do that when and then people can hear the music, or because I don't play music or anything, a lot of sound very often at all, or even if I take a call. So if I take a call on Skype, I just don't know how to do that. So if you're knowledgeable on that, I'm not. I know how to log on, push the button, and start talking. When it comes to other technology stuff, it's like, forget it. You're talking Greek to me. So if you can help, I would really appreciate that, really would. So let's talk about the Iowa Democrats. Okay. Now, by the way, we're supposed to be, it's 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 4:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right now. Well, supposedly at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're supposed to get some type of results from the Iowa caucus. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if we'll be on the air by then, but at 5 o'clock, they're supposed to get them some results. But listen to this. And this is a problem. This is from the Daily Beast. Okay? Now, boy, I tell you what, this is an issue here, isn't it? Iowa Democrats, they were warned about the app problems last week, according to a report. They're using this app. Technology. I love technology. I think technology can be useful because I'm using it now to talk to you. But at the same time, the problem is if we don't get a handle on technology, then this type of stuff will happen. Iowa Democrats were reportedly warned last week that there were serious problems with the app designed to report caucus results to the party. So the app has been partially blamed for a deeply embarrassing night that left Iowa Democratic Party officials unable to declare results from Monday's caucus. There's a person named Sean Bagnuiski, chairman of the Polk County Democrat Party, told the Washington Post that local officials had been aware of problems with the app since last Thursday. He said they had requested state officials to resolve the issues before Monday's caucus, but claimed they were referred to a dedicated staffer who was then unable to do anything to help. Quote, "We had so many complaints about the app that we started telling our chairs that if they were having problems with the app, then you should call in the results." So officials reportedly received no training on how to use the app. You got to be kidding me. I mean, does anybody else see a problem with that? I swear, it's almost as if I'm in a Twilight Zone here. It's like I'm in a Twilight Zone episode. So, officials reportedly received no training on how to use the app. They struggled to download it or even log in, and were placed on hold for as long as 2 hours when they tried to call the result in via hotline when the app failed. How? We're in the 21st century. We put machines on Mars. We have been to the moon in the 60s. We have satellites that have now left our solar system. The Voyager. And we did that in the 1970s. And we can see planets and galaxies and Milky Ways millions of miles away. But we can't turn in results from voting. Okay. Shadow Inc., it's a tech company behind the Iowa caucus reporting app, said it sincerely regrets the delay in reporting the results of last night's caucuses and the uncertainty it has caused. Now, while the Iowa Democratic Party reportedly said a user error in transmitting caucus data to the IDP caused the delay, Shadow took the blame on Tuesday tweet thread when they said, as the Iowa Democratic Party has confirmed the underlying data and collection process via Shadow's mobile caucus app was sound and accurate, but our process to transmit that caucus results data generated via the app to the IDP was not. Okay. And then they continue to say, importantly, the issue did not affect the underlying caucus results data, and we worked as quickly as possible overnight to resolve this issue. And the IDP has worked diligently to verify results. You knew about this last week. Okay, you knew the Democratic Party in Iowa, the leadership knew that this app was not dependable. Okay, they knew this. They were told. And they used it anyway. And even worse than that, they didn't even train their leaders on how to use it. Okay, you know what? And then, and the world is watching. I hope everyone knows this. The world is watching. There are strong supporters of Donald Trump. There are strong opponents to Donald Trump. And I assure you that the United States, we're not the only one watching these results. And if the most powerful country in the world, which the United States is, We are the most powerful country, but we can't even get polling results in a timely manner. So this is a huge black eye for the Democratic Party, and I hope they get their stuff together, because if they don't, it's just going to, it really is, it makes them look incompetent. It just makes them look really just utterly incompetent. So that's just my opinion on it, and some people may disagree, but it's not just me. Even people on MSNBC and CNN who definitely kind of slant more to obviously the Democrat Party, even they have said that this is really unprofessional. That there's no excuse for this, and they're right. They are absolutely right. So we'll see what happens. We'll see when the results come in. We don't know who won. I mean, apparently it does seem from the earlier results that, or at least the live television that they had, it seemed that Bernie Sanders apparently had done well. Pete Buttigieg, apparently he had done pretty well. I think there might have been one or two more maybe, but we don't know. It really is it's a toss-up, isn't it? Because we have no idea. So we'll see about that, and go from there. One thing that I want to talk about that really, as a bishop within the old Catholic Church, the United States Old Catholic Church, I saw this, and I tell you what an unbelievable problem. I was just inexcusable. And Father Thomas Newsom says, I call shenanigans. I think it may be intentional, but I don't want to say that. Oops, yeah, you just said it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if we can trust those results. I mean, it's one of those things you just don't know. But really, honest to God, when you know that you're having the vote, it wasn't a surprise, right? It's not like they were all of a sudden the Democrat Party said, hey, look, you guys are going to do the voting and you'll be the first state to do it, okay? And you have 24 hours to get it going. They've had a long time. It's not like they haven't had time to prepare and actually train their officials on how to use the app. I don't know. But listen to this story. And for those of you who are listening to this now, there's multiple platforms that people are listening to it, and I appreciate you listening. I really, really sincerely appreciate you guys tuning in. And for those of you who are listening to this on podcasts, I would really like to know your feedback on some of these posts as well. You can go to facebook.com/Bishop J, the letter J, Long, because on Facebook, that is where this show actually airs live on that. So I'd like to know your personal opinion. But get this story here. This was a troubling story because as clergy, this really kind of infuriated me. But a priest tells anti-Trump protesters to commit suicide. Now, so let me say that again. And this is by Carol Alvarado and Billy Shears. Again, a priest tells anti-Trump protesters to commit suicide. The pastor of a largely immigrant Catholic church in Queens has suggestion for his anti-Trump parishioners. That means people who are against Trump. And he said, go take a flying leap off the nearest building. Show your hate for Trump. Do it for social justice. Jump against Trump. It reads a meme posted by Philip Pizzo just hours after he celebrated Mass on Sunday. The message included an illustration of a man plummeting from a skyscraper. The conservative priest who oversees St. Benedict, Joseph Labor Roman Catholic Church in Richmond Hill, previously posted a photo of President Obama with the words, "He's not my president," and another snapshot of Hillary Clinton titled "Ugly Face" in Italian, along with "Happy Halloween." Pizzo, who's 67, told the Post on Monday that he just thought the jump against Trump meme was funny. He says, "I do not promote suicide. I've helped many people over the years, and it does not promote suicide. It was funny." But some parishioners were outraged. Carlos Coburn said suicide is not funny, plain and simple. And Coburn said he has attended the church for 20 years, but he'll start worshiping elsewhere, given the controversial posting. I understand that there are people who are very strong Trump supporters. Fine. And I also understand that there are individuals who are against Trump. Fine. But when you are a priest and you make jokes out of suicide because you are so filled with rage and hate against anyone else who has different ideology than you, you have no business being in ministry. And in the Catholic Church, we have a saying, well, not a saying, we have a term called defrocked. And if I were his bishop, he would be removed immediately from the priesthood. And it's not because he's pro-Trump. Look, if you're pro-Trump, you're pro-Trump, fine. If you're against Trump, that's fine. That's your right as an American. But when you start making fun of suicide, making light of suicide, and telling people to jump off a skyscraper and then creating a meme and then having something, that's not funny. That is that's that is repugnant to a level that just spits in the face of God. There's nothing funny about that. So, and apparently this priest, he did share the meme in question on his personal Facebook page. He says he intended it as satire only. That's satire. You're a priest. He regrets the offense it has caused and has deleted it. This post does not in any way represent the views of the church. Well, of course not. And on the day of the President Trump's inauguration, Pope Francis urged the new leader of the free world to uphold the advancement of human dignity. Look, people know that I'm not with the Roman Catholic Church. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood, and I loved the time when I was in the seminary. I really do. I loved it. But I belong to the old Catholic Church. I don't care if you're with the old Catholics, the Roman Catholics, Methodists, Episcopalians. I don't care. Anyone who makes light of suicide and you are wearing a collar around your neck, you should be so ashamed of yourself and actually question whether or not you should be in ministry in the first place. I have personally counseled people who contemplated suicide. And that's not a funny thing. It's not comical. It's not satire. It's evil. Plain and simple, it is evil. And this priest has just gone too far. There are so many. I have never seen such divisiveness there against Trump and for Trump. I mean, some people, even families, have fought against one another and won't even speak to their loved one because they're for or against Trump. I mean, it is mind-boggling. What happened to the days when it was okay for us to have different of opinion and that we shouldn't be attacked for it? Yeah, Deborah, truly a priest. Well, I hope his bishop certainly removes him. If not remove him from the priesthood, he should absolutely take a leave of absence at the minimum. Unbelievable. So who knows? Now, let's kind of switch gears here because this is important. In today's world, we are kind of just going so fast, and sometimes we lose connection with one another. But you need to be aware that there has been an increase in dating danger with dating apps. Now, this is nothing new. If you probably have heard stories of this before, but apparently this is recent. This is CBS Chicago News. A man using a dating app to rob victims with stun gun. This is a new thing that's going on, and when I say new thing, it's becoming a major, major problem. So let's see, it says here they thought they were meeting their dates near some of Chicago's nicest hotels. Instead, they were threatened with a stun gun and robbed. CBS 2's Vince Grassol has more with that all the victims have in common. 4 attacks in all since December. Just 4 attacks. One of them took place at the Cambria Hotel, and they're all centered in the downtown and Gold Coast area. So it's a pretty distant area, lots of people. You would think that perhaps maybe you're safe. Police said that the victims and their attackers met on the dating app called Grindr. And they point out the risk of meeting people privately with people you really don't know. Authorities said the man met and lured his victim to a hotel room in the Loop's Cambria Hotel through a dating app. And there he used a stun gun on his victim, stealing his wallet. Though taken into custody, police said the victims were reluctant to press charges. And the suspect later was released because they were fearful of their safety. And that was on January 6th. And it's now one of the 4 similar dating app stun gun robberies reported in the Loop and the Gold Coast since late December. So apparently this is becoming an issue. People, I don't understand. The first occurred near the Embassy Suite Hotel in 600 block of North State Street, December 22nd. The next Cambria robbery was on January 6th, where the suspect was released. And then about 2 weeks later, another stun gun date and robbery near the W Hotel on Lakeshore Drive. And those are nice hotels. And finally, Tuesday night, near the Four Seasons Hotel on North Michigan Avenue, which is an incredibly nice hotel. Another dangerous online date where the victim was shocked and robbed. It prompted police to issue a community alert for the downtown and Mag Mile neighborhoods where the dangerous dates are occurring. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about. I don't know anything actually about Grindr. I don't know if it's a dating app, but I don't know if it's. Look, I'm fully aware that there are dating apps out there that are really not meant for dating. They're really meant for hooking up. Okay. That in of itself is incredibly dangerous and I have to say this, but foolish. I don't, how am I going to say this without being disrespectful? I understand that people have needs and they want that companionship. However, that companionship comes at a very serious cost. I mean, you got to understand, these people who are being stunned with these stun guns, if one of them has a very weak heart or even have a pacemaker, for God's sakes, that could kill them. So I would just caution anybody, and obviously those of you who are listening live and those who are listening later, to really think about these apps, because, you know, these days, I tell you, these days it just seems so different, doesn't it? Just, at least from my perspective, it's almost as if people don't. It's like this belief, you know, you got to try it before you buy it mentality. And I've never understood it. And I don't judge people who go that route. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's moral. But it's also very dangerous. And so I would just really caution people to not do that, to stay off, to really get off Grindr. And if you're going to use a dating app, I would certainly use one that is reputable. I'm sure that there are reputable dating apps out there. And certainly, with no question about it, I would, you know, if you're going to meet somebody for a date, and there's nothing wrong with dating, that's perfectly normal, and okay, that's fine. But if you're going to go on a date, I would absolutely make sure that someone knows where you are, without question. I mean, that's the bare minimum. And Deborah says, our crime here in the city of Chicago has risen so high. She says, I don't know if it's really been this bad always, or if social media makes us more aware. Yeah, when I went to Loyola University in Chicago, that was intimidating. It was intimidating because I came from Kentucky, which is a very slow pace, right? Very slow, to going to Chicago, where you can get on, the red line or green line, the train, and you can pretty much go wherever you need to go in the city. And it's busy, it's crowded. And so I never really felt threatened when I went downtown. But there are certainly bad parts. Like, for example, I'll tell you this story, and then we got to take a quick break. But this, let me tell you, when I went to St. Meinrad Seminary in St. Meinrad, Indiana, and they had closed their doors because of financial reasons. So I had to transfer, an undergraduate, I had to transfer to Loyola University in Chicago. And so here I am. I have no idea where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue. So I fly, I get off the airplane, I go to the train, and I ask this person, okay, and here I am with all my luggage, and I'm thinking, okay, and I had money, obviously, and other goods on me in my bags, and I said, okay, I need to go to Southside Drive, I need to go to Chicago, Loyola University. This person then tells me to take a green line. Okay, I don't know what a green line is. So okay, there's the green line. I get on the train, and I get off at Ashland Avenue. Now, if you've ever been to Chicago, there are some places you stay away from. And Ashland Avenue on the green line is one of them. But I had no idea. So here I am now with all my luggage, walking around completely, you can see that I'm a fish out of water. And I was walking down the stairs, and I looked around. I said, "Oh, this doesn't look like Loyola University. This looks like a battle zone down here." And the woman in the gate, the worker, said, "Boy, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to find Loyola University, the seminary, St. Joseph." And she said, "You are a long way." And then immediately she said, "You need to get in this cage right now." So she opened the cage, she let me come in with her, and she said, "You have no idea where you are, do you?" I was like, "Well, no, I have no clue." And so she called over some detectives, and they were across the street, and she flagged them over, and they drove over to where I was. And, they started laughing, and they thought it was all funny, and they said, "Yeah, you need to get in the car." And so, of course, I got in the car, and they took me to where I needed to be. I did not know that 4 hours earlier, prior to me arriving, that there was a fatal shooting just right down the road to where I was. And that's why the detectives were there. Yeah. Talking about crazy. That was, that was kind of scary. But listen, we're going to take a quick break, a bathroom break, get some water break, whatever break you need. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere, because we have a lot more to talk about. One of the things that we're going to discuss is apparently there is an HIV vaccine trial, and I'm going to give you some update on that, as well as, unfortunately, some news in Africa where the LGBT community, well, they need some prayers. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Bishop Long, as seen on Ghost Adventures, the History Channel, National Geographic Channel, and many more, is proud to announce his online demonology course. Students can take the course at their own pace, and it's 100% online. Bishop Long is the exorcist for the United States Old Catholic Church. He holds a Doctorate of Ministry, Masters of Education, Masters of Divinity, and a Masters of Business Administration. Sign up today by going to www.demonologyclass.com.
The Sacred Division is proudly sponsored by the United States Old Catholic Church, an all-inclusive Catholic sacramental faith community. For more information, check us out on the web at www.usocc.org. The United States Old Catholic Church. focusing on diversity.
Have you ever had the desire to join a progressive Benedictine community? A community that welcomes everyone, regardless of gender, marital status, or sexual orientation? Have you always felt a deep calling from God to live as a Benedictine, but doors are slammed on you because you do not fit the right profile? If you have experienced these unnecessary roadblocks, then I invite you to take some time and visit CatholicBenedictines.com. We are a Benedictine community that welcomes everyone, and we embrace diversity. We have valid apostolic succession, and we are committed to living the life of a Benedictine. You have prayed diligently about your calling, and now God is answering. Email us today at CatholicBenedictines@gmail.com, and let's begin your journey together.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sacred Division right here. And I really appreciate you being here and supporting the show. And, of course, you know, if you really do have a calling for the priesthood and you've been thinking about that for a long time, go check us out, usolcc.org. You know, one thing that kind of left off with a little teaser before we took a break is this is really heartbreaking kind of, I'll tell you. I'm hopeful. But apparently there is a quest for obviously an HIV vaccine continues after, unfortunately, the latest trial fails. And this is from Yahoo News. U.S. health authorities said Monday that they were halting a trial in South Africa of an experimental HIV vaccine after it proved ineffective at preventing the infection. The study, named HVTN702, began in 2016. It involved the only vaccine candidate ever shown to provide some protection against the virus that causes AIDS. In an earlier trial in Thailand in 2009, an HIV vaccine is essential to end the global pandemic, and we hope this vaccine candidate would work, said Anthony Fauci, who's the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which sponsored the work. Unfortunately, regrettably, this vaccine does not. The trial enrolled about 5,400 HIV-negative volunteers and 14 sites across South Africa, consisting of sexually active men and women aged 18 to 35 years old. Now, they were randomly assigned to receive either the vaccine regimen or placebo injections, receiving 6 doses over 18 months. In order to ensure the safety of the participants, they were also provided access to several medicines, including oral pre-exposure PrEP is what they call it, or a medication that, when taken daily, has been shown to be highly effective at preventing HIV infection. Unfortunately, in an analysis, researchers examined the data from both groups after the participants had been involved in the study for more than 18 months, and the minimum time which is required for the vaccine regimen to stimulate an immune response. It found that 129 HIV infections occurred among the vaccine recipients, and 123 HIV infections occurred among the placebo recipients, and the trial was therefore called off. You know, I tell you what, this HIV, it's no joke. It really is no joke. And I tell you, I have friends who are very sexually active. And they keep telling me, well, that's PrEP. I'm on PrEP. I can do whatever I want. I'm on PrEP. And I keep telling them that is not a 100% safe guarantee that you will not receive HIV. This is not 100%. And not only that, but there's also other sexually transmitted diseases besides HIV that are incredibly challenging for the body. So yeah, and Father Thomas says that one challenge as an independent Catholic clergy is that many think we condone promiscuity, fornication, polygamous relationships, etc. Let us not forget that we are Catholic, and that is true. The old Catholics, we see that we are inclusive. But I tell everyone, inclusive doesn't mean anything goes. That's not what being inclusive means. Inclusive means we welcome everyone. But that doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want to do. And because we're inclusive, we're going to say, hey, we're inclusive. That's okay. That's not okay. It's not. It seems that, it really does seem, in my opinion, that many people have kind of lost. I'm just going to say this. And again, people are going to say, oh, Bishop Long, you're just too conservative. It seems like our society has just kind of lost the moral compass. And I say that because, as I said in yesterday's show, the Super Bowl halftime show, and again, I understand there are some people who disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't need to see a porno during halftime Super Bowl. And I don't want to see it. And constantly grabbing your private area repeatedly, as if you were thinking that somehow it just magically disappeared or so. I don't know. It was just, that's a PG show. I mean, there were kids watching that. And the fact that we have, it seems like it's, that this type of behavior is being condoned, and not only condoned, but even allowed to be on television, even for children to see. I think we really do need to kind of tone that down a little bit. That's my opinion. That's just the way I see it. I just think that the moral compass seems to, well, let's just do this and let's do that. And the same thing goes for this. The LGBT community has been through hell and back, truly. But one of the things that drive me absolutely crazy, and not only crazy, but I find it insulting and it's counterproductive. Because I've been to an LGBT parade, clergy supporting the LGBTQ community. And that's great. I don't need to see men in leather thongs wearing dog collars and sometimes even less than that, being whipped by their master down the street. That is not the type of identification that I want anyone to think of me. It was grotesque. It was just grotesque. I'm sorry. I don't care if someone disagrees. That's fine. You can disagree, but I stand firm on my beliefs, and I think that's too far. That is disgusting. It has nothing to do with LGBT. It really has everything to do with vulgarity. That's vulgar. Because when I was, several years ago, when I went to a gay pride parade, showing, my support as clergy, there were children that were there supporting and waving the flags, and yeah. And then when they saw these perverts, and that's exactly, I don't care if this upsets people, because this is the truth, and I have to speak the truth. If I'm not going to speak the truth, then I'm a hypocrite. And there were these perverts, and it is it's perverted. I don't care if you're straight or gay, but if you're walking down the street with barely a leather thong on that's the size of a Band-Aid, and you have somebody whipping you behind you, that's perverted. Keep it in your bedroom, because kids who are there, who are trying to show support for the LGBTQ community, sure in the hell doesn't want to see that kind of perverted crap, and neither do I. So that's why I will never go to a gay parade at a major city, because I don't want to see that crap, because I find it repugnant. I find it absolutely counterproductive, totally counterproductive to the LGBTQ community, 100%. And so I just think that we got to tone this moral compass back. This anything and everything goes. It's this try it before you buy it mentality. Well, I'm going to have the one night stand with this person before I buy the milk, before I buy that cow. You know, that mentality. We basically have reduced human beings to objects that we're going to try, like we would, try a subscription to Hulu or Netflix, and then if you don't want it, you can just discard it. I don't know. I don't know. Again, call me old-fashioned. You can call me ultra-conservative. I look at it as common sense. That's the way I view it. And this HIV vaccine and these friends that I know that are promiscuous, and I keep telling them, and they say, well, there is the disease of cocktail drugs that keep you alive. You can live for the rest of your life with HIV, and that's a true statement. However, let's look at some of the side effects with taking the cocktail drugs. The AZT is these drugs are very hard on the body, and not every single person takes to those drugs either. And it's amazing how they don't know that. Not every person who takes the drug responds well to them. There is severe diarrhea. There's severe cramping. There's sickness. I mean, there's a cost. Now, I'm not saying that people who you can go on a date with somebody, you can go on a relationship, you can be faithful to that person, you could be in a relationship with a person, be very faithful, and unfortunately they are not, and they bring that home to you. Obviously, that's a completely different story here, and I'm not saying that people who are promiscuous deserve HIV. Absolutely not. But there are dangers. There are consequences that come with the activity that we participate with. For example, if I jump in a pool full of great white sharks and I cut myself, then I know that there are going to be consequences. The same way that if I go out and I have sexual relations with every single person that I meet as I'm going to try it before I buy it mentality, there are consequences. And we have to just we have to reel this back. We have to reel it back. And Father Thomas says, how do we heal? Maintain our personal relationship with God and pray. Yeah. That's it. I've met a lot of people who are very promiscuous. And what I do is I always remember what the monks taught us at Minard is, no matter where anyone is coming from, you always remain pastoral. And so even though I find one-night stands troubling and against my moral beliefs, I'm not there to judge that person. I am there to help that person understand that their value as a human being is priceless, that within them God dwells. And so I try to reel back this idea that they can do whatever they can or want to their body, and nothing will happen, or they don't think about it. And I always try to say, you're a special person. You're a priceless person. And just think about what you're doing and think about how, in fact, you can change your life. And so it's very, very difficult sometimes to talk to people who are absolutely convinced that the only way to actually get into a relationship is to be promiscuous. Unfortunately, many people have convince themselves that that's the only way. And unfortunately, in today's world, many people believe that you have to have that one night stand in order to have a relationship. And I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. There's a term, and it's interesting because, when I was growing up, it was always you're gay or straight. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, when I was growing up as a kid, that's that's what we understood. But now there's so many different terms, and some people say, well, that's just ridiculous. I don't know, but there's a term that I never knew existed. I think it's called demisexual, and DEMI sexual, which means that you do not feel lust or any type of physical interest with a person until there is an actual emotional bond there. And I thought, well, hell, that's exactly what I describe as myself. So that's why I don't understand one-night stands, because my brain doesn't work that way. And I just hope that anyone who does participate in those activities, especially using those apps, just understand that there are serious dangers that come with participating in the activities. And so I would just ask them to pray about that. Take a step back and realize that you have much more to offer. And if someone is not going to like you because you're not willing to have a one-night stand with them, then that's not a person you should be with in the first place. Because if they don't value as a person first, and instead they value as an object, well, I just don't think you should kind of go in that direction. So that's my kind of spill on that. And unfortunately, and we're going to close the show out with this one. Tanzanian gays are targeted and cut off from healthcare in Tanzania. Of course, this is in. I don't know. I don't know why. It's like, come on, folks, in Africa. But a gay Tanzanian activist, T, 34, recalls a nostalgia time when Tanzania was like paradise for LGBT community. Before the 2015 election of President John Magufuli ushered in fear and persecution. It's all relative. Tanzania has long criminalized same-sex relationships, and social stigma has always existed. But under previous government, homosexuality was not a public discussion. The country was slowly making progress by including the LGBT community in discussions on healthcare and fight against HIV and AIDS. In those days, Tanzania was like paradise. We were enjoying our life. People were going out, hanging out in bars, having meetings, public events, without fearing anyone. We were able to participate in government meetings, T told the AFP during an interview in neighborhood in Kenya, using a pseudonym out of fear for his safety. But now, you don't even dare, he said. Now we have to hide ourselves. Yeah, Tanzania has become very, very scary. And what bothers me as clergy is that many of these people use religion as an excuse to persecute the innocent. And that is a problem for me as clergy. Because when you're using the Bible as a hate tool, then you don't know your Bible. You don't read it. You don't understand it. And I always say to people, and this is not a lecture or anything, but I always say to people who are anti-gay and anti-this and those people and those, I always say, well, what did Jesus say about it? And, well, that doesn't matter. It's in the Old Testament. Well, I can tell you a lot of things in the Old Testament that you're violating right now, and according to the Old Testament, you should be stoned to death. So you can't pick and choose the holiness code. If you're going to choose one part of the holiness code, you got to choose them all. And it's fascinating that so many people, even in America, that politicians would condemn homosexual lifestyle and gay rights and all this, and yet they're on their fourth marriage. Now, I don't judge anybody. If the marriages didn't work out, they didn't work out. But don't condemn somebody else because they were born gay, and yet you've had 4 marriages. I mean, can you say hypocrite? And I don't care what I really don't care what anyone says here. I don't. I've said this many times before. I am a gay man. And anybody who tells me that I chose to be gay, I tell you what, I I'll just simply delete them and move on. Delete them and move on. Because I know if I chose this lifestyle or not. And I didn't. But it's kind of crazy. But Deborah says, a friend of mine travels there for gemstone buying. He will not until it gets better. Yeah, it's Tanzania. It's dangerous place. Really is. I want to remind everybody who's listening to this now on other formats and who's listening to this on podcast later. Again, Monday through Thursday shows. We're going to be talking about entertainment news. We're going to be talking about world events, movie reviews. It's not just going to be politics. So we will have a lot of conversation about a lot of topics as we did today. But my Friday show, the Friday show is 100% strictly paranormal. That's it. It's Friday Paranormal on the Sacred Division at 4 p.m. And this Friday, I'm going to be talking about demonology and possession in some of my cases that I have worked and the experiences that I have gone through, what I saw. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the Exorcism Live that I did and the Ghost Adventures and did several other shows that I did. And I can kind of tell you what happened behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. So I'm hoping that you are enjoying this format, the Monday through Thursday, and I will eventually get the ability to have people call in and maybe just voice their opinion, or because I don't want this just to be me talking about what I think. I want to hear what you think as well, and I also want to hear if you have a different argument. If you have let's say that you don't agree with me on something, I want to know. I want to hear what your argument is, not for the sake so we can argue. I don't believe in that nonsense, but for the sake that we can learn. Because if you understand a person's perspective, it may be a different perspective, and maybe it might be something you didn't think about. So that's what I want us to do. I think I am going to eventually have that capability. So I am working on that right now. And I think that's going to be very exciting to have. So I really appreciate you guys sharing this the podcast with everybody, sharing the page with everybody, and let people know about it. And they can go to Spreaker.com/Bishop James Long. And that's how they can go to my page. And then, of course, this podcast on Fridays, actually the paranormal shows on Friday, will also be heard on iHeartRadio, the app, plus the Love Network, and a whole host of others. Bishop David was able to get us on to a lot of apps, which I really am grateful. So the Friday shows is going to be the one that's going to be pushed on all the apps. So I want to thank you again for joining me today. And I really appreciate all the comments. Yes, we will have Miss Wilma on. We will. From time to time, I'll bring Miss Wilma back on, but she has a lot to say about a lot of these things. Let me tell you, she has a lot to say. So I want to thank you for being here, for supporting the show, for sharing the show. And remember, my friends, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. God bless and have a beautiful night. I'll see you in 24 hours.